Hey guys, I finally want to get on here and do my book review of the book of the Unnamed Midwife by Meg Elison. And I don't have the actual physical book with me anymore because I'm moving, so I packed it. But I'll go ahead and put a picture of it here. Check out my other video. I was a book vlog of me actually going through and reading it. So I am visually impaired, so I have no central vision with the type of macular disease I have. So I do use a lot of tools, but I do have peripheral vision, so I heavily do rely on audiobooks, but I also read books too. I use audiobooks, I use magnifiers to read the book, which usually takes me a lot longer to go through a novel. I use Orcam, which you wear on a pair of glasses and it reads the text to you, so it gives you that sensation of actually reading the book. But with this particular novel, I did read it with a magnifier, and I'm so glad I did. I really enjoyed the book. Let me just go ahead and put my rating out there first. So on Goodreads, I will put my rank. I'm gonna give this book a 4.5. It took me 2 weeks to read it. I read a chapter a day. It had a 13 chapters and an epilogue at the end. So right on track. The chapters were kind of meaty. Some was small, but a lot of them were really meaty, which was totally fine. Just means I got through the book faster. I really enjoyed it. Just a quick synopsis of what the book's about. It's about a dystopian post-apocalyptic world. Kind of reminds me of, it's viral based. It reminds me of 28 Days Later or The Walking Dead. You know how Rick in the beginning was in the hospital, he woke up and the world went to shit. Basically, this is what the Unnamed Midwife's experience was. This particular virus, however, it attacks both men and women, but it's more devastating to women. Women basically, once they get this cough, they get a really high fever, it's uncontrollable, and they perish. Children, if you're pregnant, it's basically like a death sentence. As soon as you're pregnant and as soon as you give birth, your child will die as well as the mother. So women become extremely almost extinct. But the nurse, she works at a hospital. She is a nurse. She works in labor and delivery, and she got the illness, and she recovered, and she's the few female survivor of this particular illness, and she wakes up in the hospital. She doesn't know where her boyfriend is. Her boyfriend, I believe, is like a doctor. She doesn't know where he's at, and she's just trying to gather her bearing. What I love about this book, one, she doesn't give our main character a name. She keeps that control. She keeps that anonymity. And it definitely feeds into the feminist feel and thread that she has throughout her novel, which I absolutely love. She does not give anyone her name because they don't deserve to know who her name is. So throughout the narrative of the book, when she encounters different interactions, she goes by different names. And another good thing that I love about this, that you kind of get lost into the book. Yes, you don't go into the depths of the virus, so she don't take a lot of time. She tells you what happened, and then she jumps into our unnamed midwife, because her main goal is, if she runs into any woman, because unfortunately, because we become an object of men, and it just kind of shows, like, if truly the men were left alone with no women, how depraved we know they will become. We know it. We know the truth. They're not going to be kind. It's going to be a savage and a ruthless and a violent and a horrible world for females to live in, especially if you're a select few. And this is a worldwide epidemic. I love in her book how she puts snippets of how different parts of the world is handling this. But anyway, so she goes through a lot, but the author doesn't portray violence just for the sake of violence. She tells you very gently what's happening. Like, her first encounter, she went obviously home and a man broke in her house and tried to rape her. But the way she tells it, you feel the adrenaline from our heroine. You feel vindicated when she kills him. You know what he wants to do, but she doesn't have to spell it out every single little thing that he's trying to do. You hear from her perspective how she overcame the threat that came to her. Throughout the book, she does dress up as a man to protect her identity as best as she can. It goes through different ways of like religion. There's a religious I don't want to say a cult, but a religious sector that she runs into, and if it shows then men of God is even depraved when they don't have the resource of women readily available to them, and how she touches on children being essayed, but again, a very gentle and a beautiful way that only a woman can explain. You know what I mean? She goes into genitalia mutilation, again, in a very everything that could be done to the remaining survivor women, and there's not that many of them. You know, they're not men putting them in chains. Obviously, they're being sexual beings and only satisfying the men's needs. But then it becomes more than that. The men realize they're in the event that their line is going to die. So they also want to procreate, and the need to pass their seed and to have fruition happen. And you know, she is the antithesis of that. She's like, I know what world we women live in now. Whoever I run into, I'm going to make sure she took as much like birth control, everything she can do to give these women to protect themselves from become pregnated. Because honestly, this virus makes being pregnant a death sentence. If you get pregnant and you get birth, 99.9% you're going to get this fever and virus, and you and your baby are going to die. Point blank. And I just love how she had that perspective of these men with violent ways still understood that they were dying out if they can't reproduce, and that was steer their main goal, regardless of how it harmed the few remaining women. They didn't care. They just wanted to create. So at the end, I love that, and it shows like the experience of being by yourself and lonely, going through a landscape where there's not a lot of people, and just being definitely alone, truly what quietness means with your own thoughts, with no one to talk to. And her like running into different characters and different beings, and even though they may have parted ways, I love how the author spins back and tells you what happened to the people that came into her life, the midwife's life. And unfortunately, some of them passed away very violently, or others found their confidence and strength in themselves. And it shows that she runs into other women. That's why she's the midwife. That's why she's there to take care of them. Like, hey, no, protect yourself. Do not have birth until we figure out what's going on. But at the end, she goes into a community of of people that actually, like they haven't lost their mind. They haven't gone full Mad Max. They have rules. So she feels comfortable. She becomes a woman again. She no longer hides under a male facade, a male costume. She becomes a woman. She still doesn't give her true name, but she becomes a woman, and she's journaling. The book, the way it's set up, is like her journal entries, and then just some of its stories, some of its journal entries. And that's important because she journals everything. And when she ends up in this community, they save her journal and other journals that she may have collected from others during her journey. And it almost becomes a huge learning tool. Like, they have these young men write her words over and over and over again so they don't lose them. So it's like her journal becomes a Bible, kind of, which I think is awesome. Again, that feminist thread of like a woman being level-headed and surviving. I just absolutely love this book. 4 out of 5, 4.5 stars. Definitely 4.5 stars. so it cut me off. Anyway, so I was saying at the end, they held her in a very high esteem. She rose in the ranks. She was never power hungry. She never let power get in her head and corrupt her. It was just so awesome to see her involved from the beginning, very scared, very not timid but scared, and to see that first interaction. The book starts with a bang of someone trying to sexually assault her, and she took control and killed that mother freaker. I don't know, it just set the tone of the book that she was no one to fuck around with. And she learned very quickly about how the mantle of being a woman in this world of depravity, where women were dying by the droves and almost extinct, she quickly pivoted and survived as a man, and understood that her femininity was still hers to hold on to and to guard. And it still showed that even during this time of uncertainty and tragedy, she still had desire. She still wanted community. She still wanted love. She still wanted to belong. She still wanted to have pleasure. So even in this dark, dreary background, she was still human, and she still had these range of emotions. I absolutely love this book. Please, please, please pick it up, read it. I have it in hardback. It's definitely going to stay in my collection. I'm so glad that I was able to read a book after Edenville, which I did not like. It took me forever, months to get through. I also read that with a magnifier and Oricam. I have the hardback book, but as soon as I move, I'm going to get rid of it. I did not like that book, Edenville. But my next book being this one was a refresher, and I absolutely loved reading this, and I look forward to seeing what other books she has written, because I definitely going to check them out. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Sorry, when I love something, I get very passionate about it. I can literally talk about this book for more than a couple of minutes. But now I'm reading from one of my favorite YouTubers. She's not on YouTube anymore, but back in the day, she was pretty big. Her name is Harmony Nice. I'm not into religion. I'm more of a spiritual person, so she wrote about Wicca, so I did start that book, and that will be my next book that I'm going to review for you guys. So it's going to take me time. I'm not sure how you guys can pump up those videos so fast, but I actually have to read it and ingest it and understand it and comprehend it before I can jump on here and do a quick review with you guys. So have a good evening, morning, day, whatever, and I'll see you next time. Bye!